All right, let's dive into Tanger Med. It's this incredible industrial and port complex in Morocco. And you want to know what makes it so special. We've got company info, press releases, success stories. We've got the whole shebang to help us figure that out. This place is more than just ships and cargo. We're talking a global trade hub, a hub that's shaking things up in industries you wouldn't even imagine. Cars, clothes, even cutting-edge tech.
Wow.
Yeah. We're talking a facility that handles over 162 million tons of goods every year. That's like the weight of 22 Great Pyramids of Giza.
That's incredible.
I know, right? Okay, so Tanger Med describes itself as a complex industrialo portuaire, which, I mean, sounds super impressive, but what does that even mean?
Well, it really highlights that Tanger Med isn't just like your typical port. It's a whole integrated system. Imagine a perfectly synchronized dance between port facilities, logistics operations, industrial zones, and then a whole bunch of services, all working together seamlessly.
Okay, so it's not just a port. It's like this whole interconnected ecosystem.
Yeah.
But what are the advantages of having all these different parts working together so closely?
Okay, think of it this way. By having everything in one place, companies can streamline their whole supply chain. They can manufacture goods, store them, and ship them out, all from the same location. And that kind of efficiency makes businesses like incredibly competitive on a global scale.
So it's kind of like a one-stop shop for global trade. Are there any specific examples of companies that are benefiting from this setup?
Absolutely. Take Renault, for example. They manufacture cars in Morocco, and they use Tanger Med to export them to markets all over the world. Being so close to the port allows them to get their cars to customers much faster. And way cheaper, of course. Cheaper than if they had to transport them from, like, further inland.
That's a great example. So we've talked about the port in these industrial zones.
Yeah.
But what about the services component? What exactly falls under that umbrella?
Well, Tanger Med is set up to provide like everything businesses need to thrive. And we're talking technology, engineering, even essential utilities like water and electricity. This self-sufficiency is a big part of what makes Tanger Med so attractive to international companies.
It's like a city within a city,
Yeah.
designed to support this massive global operation. And speaking of expertise, I noticed a press release about Tanger Med Engineering. They were hired to develop a strategic plan for another company, which is, that's pretty impressive.
That is, and it really highlights how Tanger Med's expertise is now in demand beyond its own operations, you know? They're not just like running a successful port, they're becoming a source of knowledge and best practices, impacting other businesses and further solidifying their influence.
Okay, so we've got this picture of a highly efficient, interconnected system. But how is all of this impacting Morocco itself?
Oh, Tanger Med has been a total game changer for the Moroccan economy. It's created over 100,000 jobs and attracted billions of euros in investment. It's making it a crucial driver of economic growth. But it's not just about the numbers.
Hold that thought. Let's dive into the human impact after a quick break.
Sounds good. It's more about the ripple effect that Tanger Med is having, on Moroccan society. Like they've created all these training programs to make sure that people are like ready for the kinds of jobs that this whole complex is generating.
It's like they're investing in the future,
Yeah.
both in terms of the infrastructure, but also the human capital. That's really impressive. It's one thing to build a port, but it's another to make sure the community benefits from it. Benefits from it in a meaningful way.
Yeah, for sure. Tanger Med is definitely thinking long term, and that's what really sets them apart. I mean, they're not just focused on like moving goods. They're really focused on creating, sustainable opportunities for Moroccans.
You mentioned that Renault manufactures cars right there in Tanger Med. I get how being close to the port is efficient. But can you break down how that location specifically gives them a leg up in the global auto market?
All right, imagine you're Renault, and you need parts from all over the world to build your cars, right? Well, in Tanger Med, those parts arrive basically right at your doorstep. It minimizes, transport costs, minimizes delays. Then once those cars are built, they're a short hop from the port, ready to be shipped out to customers globally.
It's like a perfectly choreographed dance with everything moving smoothly and efficiently.
Precisely. And that efficiency translates into, cost savings, faster delivery times, and ultimately a more competitive edge in that global market. And it's not just Renault. I mean, there are over 1,000 companies from a variety of industries operating within Tanger Med, all benefiting from this integrated approach to global trade.
Speaking of other companies, one that caught my eye in these success stories is Varrock. They're a pretty big player in automotive parts, and they specifically chose Tanger Med because of its access to both European and African markets.
Vorok is a great example of how Tanger Med is facilitating trade, not just between continents, but within Africa itself. They source raw materials from, all across the continent, and then they use Tanger Med as like this hub to manufacture and export finished parts.
So it shows how Tanger Med is actually helping to strengthen trade networks within Africa, which is, I mean, that's incredibly important for the continent's economic development.
Absolutely. And this ties back to that impressive figure of over 1 million TEUs handled annually. Remember, each TEU represents a 20-foot shipping container. That's a lot of goods flowing through Tanger Med each year.
Whoa, that visual really drives home the scale of this whole operation. We've been talking about cars and parts, but what other kinds of goods are moving through Tanger Med?
Oh, everything you can imagine, from like textiles and electronics to agricultural products, minerals. Tanger Med handles a really diverse range of cargo, connecting Morocco to markets, all over the world.
Truly a global hub. We talked a lot about the economic impact, but what about the city within a city aspect? Can you give me like a concrete example of how Tanger Med's self-sufficiency benefits the businesses operating there?
Okay, so imagine you're a company setting up shop in Tanger Med. You need reliable access to like water and electricity to run your operations, right? Now, in a lot of industrial zones, you'd have to deal with like external providers, which can be a bit of a headache. But in Tanger Med, these utilities are provided right within the complex, ensuring, a consistent and reliable supply.
So it takes away a major logistical hurdle for businesses, allows them to really just focus on their core operations.
Exactly. And this self-sufficiency extends to other areas as well. You need engineering services. Tanger Med has you covered. Logistics support, they got that too. It's all part of creating an environment where businesses can really thrive.
Tanger Med is clearly a success story. But I'm wondering, is this model something that can be replicated elsewhere? Could other countries create their own Tanger Meds to boost their economies and connect to these global markets?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's definitely something we should explore further. But before we jump into whether or not it can be replicated, let's take a minute to consider the potential long-term impacts of Tanger Med's success. How might it change the landscape of global trade as a whole? It really makes you wonder what kind of impact a project like this can have on, the bigger picture of global trade.
Exactly. I mean, Tanger Med's a clear success story, but could it become a model for other countries? Countries looking to boost their own trade and economic development. What are the big takeaways here?
Well, I think Tanger Med's success can be attributed to a few key factors. First, you can't deny the importance of its strategic location, right on the Strait of Gibraltar. Makes it a natural gateway between Europe and Africa. And second, the Moroccan government has been incredibly supportive, investing heavily in infrastructure and creating a very favorable business environment.
So it's not just about building a port, right? It's about having that vision and the political will to actually see it through.
Exactly. And third, Tanger Med's focus on creating this integrated ecosystem has been absolutely crucial. They've brought together, the port facilities, industrial zones, logistics operations, and a full range of services. They've created like a one-stop shop for global businesses.
It sounds like they've really thought of everything.
But let's get back to that question of replicability. Could other countries create their own Tanger Meds, even if they don't have the same, geographical advantages? Yeah, I mean, while location definitely plays a role, the key takeaway from Tanger Med's success, the key takeaway is the importance of strategic planning and long-term vision. It's about, creating a comprehensive plan, a plan that considers not just the physical infrastructure, but also the human capital, the regulatory environment, the overall business ecosystem.
So it's about thinking holistically and understanding that a successful trade hub is more than just, bricks and mortar. It's about creating an environment where businesses can thrive. And where the benefits of that growth are shared by the entire community.
Exactly. And that requires a commitment to sustainability, both in terms of environmental protection, but also social responsibility. Tanger Med has implemented a number of initiatives aimed at reducing its environmental impact and ensuring that its growth benefits the local community.
That's really encouraging to hear. It sounds like they're not just focused on, short-term profits. They're thinking about the long-term well-being of both the environment and the people who live and work in the region.
Oh.
So As we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Tanger Med, what's the one key message? What's the one key message you hope our listener, takes away from this whole conversation?
I think Tanger Med is a really powerful example. It's an example of how strategic planning, smart investments, and a commitment to sustainability, it can transform a region into a true global trade powerhouse. It's a story of ambition, innovation, and the power of human ingenuity to create a better future.
And it's a story that has implications that go far beyond, the borders of Morocco. Tanger Med's success offers valuable lessons for other countries looking to harness the power of global trade to drive economic growth and create opportunities for their citizens. And for you, our listener, we hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity and inspired you to think a little differently about the world around you. Keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never stop learning. We'll be back soon with another deep dive, ready to tackle your next information overload challenge. Until then, stay curious.